All right, y'all probably heard the news by now about Mushmouth, former officer, and current New York Mayor Eric Adams. Without further ado, let's get to it. DJ, spin that
Breaking
shit.
news right now. Sources telling the Associated Press that Mayor Eric Adams has been indicted by a federal grand jury, making him the first mayor in New York City history to face an indictment. Good evening. I'm Natasha Verma.
And I'm Steve Lacey. Rumors have been swirling that this was imminent following the federal raids on the homes of members of Mayor Adams' inner circle and the wave of high-level resignations from his administration. We have live Fox 5 coverage tonight. Let's start with Morgan McKay, who joins us now on set with this stunning development. So right now we know the indictment's coming, but we don't know for what. That's what we find out tomorrow, I guess.
Exactly. Now, we know there are at least 4 federal investigations surrounding Mayor Eric Adams right now. But from what I'm hearing from sources is that this indictment could be tied to the federal investigation looking into whether Mayor Eric Adams accepted illegal campaign donations in part from the Turkish government. Now, we first learned about this investigation on November 2nd of last year. You'll remember that the FBI raided the home of his top campaign fundraiser, Brianna Suggs, and Adams at that time was flying to D.C. and he quickly just turned around and came back.
Right.
But it's still very unclear. We do not know what's inside this indictment. We do not know what charges or if there's multiple charges in this indictment. That indictment will be unsealed, I'm hearing, tomorrow morning. So we'll hopefully learn more there. But we just also recently found out as of this week that the federal investigators have broadened their search and have included other countries such as Israel, South Korea, Uzbekistan, Qatar, and China. Now, we know that Adams has traveled to China at least 7 times. He's traveled to Israel last year. He traveled to Qatar in 2022, I believe. And so he said he has also been to South Korea when he was a state senator. And as far as we know, he has not made a trip to Uzbekistan, but maybe there's something there. Maybe they just saw some sort of piece of information. It's also really unclear if this is tied to any of the other investigations, particularly looking at the NYPD Commissioner, Edward Caban.
So we don't know the specifics, but at its face, I mean, this is a stunning development. I mean, it kicks off now an indictment of a mayor for the first time in New York City. What happens next in the process with Mayor Adams?
So this is huge. There's only 2 New York City mayors who have ever resigned in history. That was Jimmy Walker in 1932 and William O'Dyer in 1950. So right now, if Adams doesn't resign, the only person who can remove him from office is Governor Kathy Hochul. If he does decide to resign, then this kicks off a pretty quick process. So the public advocate, Jumaane Williams, would step in as acting mayor, and then they would have an election about within 80 days of when he steps in. And after that, all the candidates would come forward and it would be ranked choice voting, and there would be no party affiliation. So it would be just an open election because there would be no primaries.
Right, and we have heard a little bit from the mayor tonight, sort of previewing what we think is going to be his likely defense strategy, right?
Exactly. We got a statement from the mayor, and he said, quote, "I always knew that if I stood my ground for New Yorkers, that I would be a target, and a target I became. If I am charged, I am innocent, and I will fight this with every ounce of my strength and spirit." Now, obviously, they're reading a little bit between the lines. Something that he's kind of been hinting at, and some people have said out loud, is that he believes in part that he has been targeted by the federal government because of his criticism of the Biden administration when it comes to the migrant crisis. He was one of the most open critics of Biden when it comes to the migrant crisis, since New York City has seen over 200,000 migrants come to the city in just the past 2 years. Obviously, that's not exactly what he's saying, of course, out loud, but hopefully we'll hear more from him tomorrow, because another question, too, is when will he surrender to the feds?
That's right. I mean, you're always at City Hall. And over the last few weeks, I mean, really since September 4th, I mean, when the federal investigators seized electronic devices from city's police commissioner, schools chancellor, deputy mayor of public safety, first deputy mayor. I mean, since then, top aides have been investigated by feds. What has been the energy, the feelings at City Hall?
Right now, people have becoming growing increasingly frustrated with the distractions, and they say it's hard to do their job. It's even hard to communicate with the press about something that they want to talk about, some initiative that they want to do, because everyone is just talking about this right now. Now, since, in just the past hour, we have seen just an outpouring of people and lawmakers coming forward, calling on Adams to resign. I think at least 5 more lawmakers on top of the 8 that have already called on him to resign.
AOC being one of them too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I know from one of my sources, they were saying that, there was possibly some indication maybe to her that this was coming down. Now, the House Minority Leader, Hakeem Jeffries, he kind of was defending Adams a little bit earlier today when he was asked, because he said, we need Eric Adams to be successful because he is the mayor of New York City. So I don't know if he'll have more comments after this indictment.
Now, Adams is the first mayor in New York City's history to be indicted while in office. He was sworn in as the city's 110th mayor in Times Square in the first moments of 2022, flanked by supporters, including some who have since been swept up in federal probes. The investigation by the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York into the Adams administration and campaign first became public nearly a year ago on November 2nd, 2023, when the Brooklyn home of Adams' top political fundraiser, Breonna Suggs, was raided by the FBI. Now, the mayor had just arrived in D.C. for a meeting about asylum seekers and then redirected himself right back to New York City to address what his staff called, quote unquote, a matter. The federal report reportedly centered on whether the Adams campaign coordinated with Turkish-linked groups, companies, and people to inject foreign money into his campaign in exchange for favors. Now, those favors were that the Turkish government and other executives that was funneling money into Adams's mayoral campaign, they were, basically constructing buildings and conducting businesses out in New York City, allegedly. Now, that same day, nearly 100 FBI agents fanned out across the region to execute search warrants at a dozen locations, including the homes of Rana Abbasova, Adams' liaison to the Turkish community, and former Turkish Airlines executive Cenk Oku, who served on Adams' transition team. Days later, his own phones and personal devices were seized by the FBI as part of the investigation. It was later reported that on many of the donations tied to Turkish nationals, including $10,000 from the employees of the Bay Atlantic University, a small Turkish-owned institution based in Washington, D.C., and a cluster of contribution tied to KSK Construction Company, both targets of federal investigators. Now, internal documents obtained showed that the city's campaign finance regulators had repeatedly asked Eric Adams' mayoral campaign about the KSK donations. The New York Times reported that federal authorities had expanded the probe to look at Adams' connections to 5 other countries: Israel, China, Uzbekistan, Qatar, and South Korea. Adams had visited Turkey on at least 6 different occasions, including trips while he was Brooklyn Borough's president. On 2 of those trips, Adams met with officials at a university affiliated with Bay Atlantic. Federal investigators also looked into the existence of an internal list that expedited fire department investigations or fire department inspections at certain development sites, which allegedly included the Turkish government that was reported last fall. And another thing that got reported, 2 fire chiefs were also indicted in this corruption probe. Last week, 2 fire chiefs were indicted on this corruption probe. Now, the scope of the federal investigations into Adams' inner circle has since grown expansively, ensnaring 2 deputy mayors, a police commissioner, Edward Caban, the mayor's Asian affairs advisor and a top aide and longtime friend. On February 29th, federal authorities raided two Bronx homes owned by Winnie Greco, a longtime volunteer and liaison to the city's Asian American community. The raids followed investigations by the city into her fundraising for Adams' 2021 mayoral campaign, including allegedly selling admittance to Gracie Mansion events in exchange for donations of upwards of $10,000 to her nonprofit. That same month, he became the target of a sexual harassment notice of claim that became a full lawsuit on March the 18th. So you allegedly getting all touchy-feely with somebody? Really, Merrick? Wow, bro. You better hope that ain't true. You better hope and pray that ain't true. On September 5th, the publication The City was the first to report that First Deputy Mayor Sheena Wright and her fiance, school's Chancellor David Banks, had their Harlem home raided and their electronic devices seized by the authorities. At the same time, Philip Banks, the deputy mayor for public safety and David's brother, also had his phone seized at his Queens home as part of a probe. A third Banks brother, Terrence, also had his phone seized by authorities, along with former police commissioner Erica Bond and his twin brother James, himself a former police officer. Weeks later, Caban resigned from his post and was replaced by interim police commissioner Thomas Donlin, who on September 21st had the feds raid his home. Also, but the documents he had from decades earlier. I've told you this corruption runs deep. This corruption runs really deep. The Big Apple is rotten at its core. Tim Pearson, a longtime friend of Adams and senior advisors working on the migrant response, also had devices seized at his Long Island home early this month. Since the raids, a flood of Adams' administration appointees have either left or announced they will leave soon. Among them was Chief Counsel Lisa Zornberg, whose sudden exit was reportedly the result of the mayor ignoring her suggestion to cut ties with Pearson, whose home was raided in September by the FBI. David Banks, whose phones were also seized as part of the investigation, announced just weeks after the start of the school year that he would retire at the end of the year. Health Commissioner Ashwin Vasan also announced that he will leave his position in early January. Last November, the mayor defended the administration after news reports on the campaign investigation and reiterated his team had always followed the law. Well, if that's the case, then why are you people jumping ship? I mean, people within your inner circle is leaving left and right. They're leaving in droves. So, you really on the up and up? And look, before any Trump supporter come in here and talk about, oh, see, had he followed the law, he wouldn't be in this position. Just understand something, right? Your God, your deity, the guy that you love and adore so much, is a 34-time convicted felon, right? So if nobody's above the law, then why is he running for president of the United States? So just know, right? Just before any Trump supporter come in talking shit, just know if you come in talking about Eric Adams and you're a Trump supporter, you being a goddamn hypocrite right now. Cause see, ain't nobody kicked down Trump's door waving the fofo and all that stuff, right? This man is a 34-time convicted felon. Where back in the 90s, when he was on a bus, he was talking to some dude about grabbing women by the pussy and all that, right? But it's Trump, that's cool. But for Eric Adams, he should get the book thrown at him, right? Or because he's a Democrat. No, we're not playing them reindeer games right here. You could take them reindeer games somewhere else. Because see, over here is fair and balanced. I don't care if you're a Republican or Democrat. You break the law, your ass need to get thrown into the jail cell if proven guilty. Yeah, we're not playing them reindeer games right here. Take that shit somewhere else. All right, now let's go. All right, let's talk about this, right? Let's talk about this. The indictment is expected to be unsealed Thursday by U.S. District Attorney Damian Williams, and he will be the first city mayor to be criminally charged while in office. Those familiar with the matter said that Adams is being charged with acting as an unregistered foreign agent for taking actions in his official capacity after receiving donations from foreign sources. So, in other words, he's going to get charged with taking bribes. Now, I wonder if Kathy Hochul is going to defend Eric Adams the same way that Eric Adams defended Kathy Hochul when Kathy Hochul was at an AI convention out in Los Angeles for some New York AI initiative, and she sat up there on that stage and said, "Young black kids don't know what a computer is," and that mushmouth, bullet head, chocolate milk that head having ass motherfucker went and put on the kit for that woman. Now I wonder if Kathy Hochul is going to protect him like how he protected her when she got faced with outrage. Huh? Who can ever forget that during the height of the pandemic and the NBA was coming back in the swing of things, right? And there was all these mandates or whatever, right? Now, road teams could come in and play their games and all that, but Kyrie Irving couldn't play. And he lambasted and he talked trash about Kyrie Irving, right? He basically, for all intents and purposes, made Kyrie Irving out to be public enemy number one. Y'all remember that? Y'all remember that, right? Officer Adams, mushmouth. He sat there and ran his mouth all recklessly about Kyrie Irving, right? Kyrie Irving couldn't even play. Now look at him. Now look at him. What's up, 3,000 degrees? Gideon, appreciate y'all for tuning in, man. Now look at him. He got his button to crack. Now, last year, he gave Diddy the keys to the city. Now, I need to say this, right? This is unrelated to the Diddy case. This is unrelated to the Diddy case. But it wouldn't surprise me if Officer Adams was at some of those freak offs and that some of those other politicians that's associated with Eric Adams were some of Diddy's freak offs. It would not surprise me if that came out down the line. But as of now, those cases are unrelated. Now, I told y'all that whole Diddy affair was a distraction for this. I told y'all this, right? Even though I don't agree with Umar on a whole lot of stuff, but Umar said the same thing. I told y'all this was the distraction. I told y'all this was coming out. I told y'all when this shit went down, I told y'all it wasn't going to be long before cases got put on people. All these people jumping ship, resigning, leaving in droves, and yet he ain't did nothing. He ain't did nothing wrong. All the meanwhile, he's on Turkish Airlines, flying to Turkey, flying to Qatar, flying to Israel, flying to all these places around the world, living his best life. Now, is Kamala Harris is going to come out and support and defend Officer Eric Adams? Is Biden, Biden the lame duck president, right? Is he going to come out and voice his support for Mayor Eric Adams? What about Hakeem Jeffries? What about Nancy Pelosi? What about AOC already came out and said that she wanted him to step down? And AOC don't even get involved in New York politics, even though she's from New York. What about the Democrat out there, Richie? Can't remember his name. It's like Richie Jeffers or some shit. Richie Torres, that's his name. Richie Torres. Is Richie Torres gonna come out and defend Eric Adams? Huh? Are the Democrats gonna get on court and get behind Eric Adams? Now, this is the third prominent Democrat of record, right? Because I talked about a Democrat last week out in Kentucky, but he ain't really all that relevant. But this is the third relevant Democrat to get his button to crack. I talked about Bob Menendez, the senator out in New Jersey, and his corruption. I talked about Henry Cuellar, the congressman out of Texas, him and his wife getting involved in corruption. And now you got this. Mayor Eric Adams, the first mayor to be indicted on criminal charges, and in all likelihood, this has nothing to do with him taking bribes. Mm-mm-mm. When a tool gets broken, this is the classic lesson of when a tool gets broken. Mm-mm-mm. Boy, boy, boy. I cannot wait till they unseal that indictment tomorrow or later on, because we really on Thursday right now. So later on in the morning, right, as of this recording, I cannot wait until they open that indictment. And we're going to see. We're going to see what was in that indictment. Now, I wonder if Kathy Hochul is going to defend Eric Adams the same way he defended her. Or Kathy Hochul, because she's the only one that can remove him from office, and she's going to wield her executive governor powers and get him up out of there. Is she going to do that? That remains to be seen also. Now, what if Officer Eric Adams gets removed as the um, mayor of New York? What if he gets removed? Who takes over? Because there's going to be a special election, right? Now, who becomes acting mayor in New York City when a mayor leaves office? According to the New York City Charter, if a New York mayor is suspended by the governor, unable to perform their duties, absent from the city, or resigns, the city's public advocate will become the acting mayor and serve in a temporary capacity. If the public advocate is unable to serve, then the city's comptroller will assume the position of acting mayor. Now, the New York City's public advocate is Jermaine Williams. According to the city's charter, he would assume the position of acting mayor if Eric Adams were to step aside or be suspended from office by the governor. Juwan Williams is a former city councilman that has served as the public advocate since winning a special election in 2019. He ran for governor in 2022, losing to Kathy Hochul. And remember, Kathy Hochul, actually, I take that back. Eric Adams is the fourth prominent Democrat because we forgot about the New York governor at that time, Andrew Cuomo. Y'all remember that sex scandal involving Andrew Cuomo? And he ended up having to resign from office. Now he hadn't got criminally charged with anything, but he ended up leaving office. He ended up resigning as New York governor. That's how Kathy Hochul got up in there. So he's the fourth Democrat in recent memory, fourth prominent Democrat in recent memory to get his button to crack over something. I totally forgot about Andrew Cuomo. Bad LB, bad LB. Okay, now the comptroller, Brad Lander, is the current comptroller for the city of New York. He served in this position since 2021. Lander will become the acting mayor if Adams leaves office and Williams cannot serve. Prior to his election as comptroller, Lander spent 12 years in city council. He announced plans for run the mayor in 2025. Well, guess what? Guess who will not be mayor in 2025? That's right. Your bullet head mush my ass. That's right. You're done, son. You're done. If these charges are true and they were to prove this beyond a reasonable doubt in court, you're done. You're done. When they unseal that indictment, in case y'all don't know, an indictment means he's been formally charged by a grand jury. That means the prosecutor uh, got the members of the jury, right? Normally, there's no, it is a secret form, and the prosecutor lays the case out for the jury, and then the grand jury comes back as to give whether or not they're going to further pursue this case. And in this case, given the evidence that's laid out, they're going to go after this guy. And when the feds start kicking down your door, they normally they do have a high conviction rate. I'm talking like over in the 90th percentile of conviction rate. So if the feds is kicking down your door, just know they got your ass. They got you. They got you. Right? Whether it be through witness testimony, evidence, right? Because when they go get a search warrant, they have probable cause to believe that something's going on. And when they get that judge to sign off on that search warrant and they kick down your door at 4 a.m. while you sleeping, having sex on the toilet because you had a bad case of burritos or some shit, they coming. And when they come, they're coming to say hi. They're coming to get whatever they need to get, arrest whoever they need to arrest, and then they out the door. Yeah, Mike Lewis, I had just talked about that before you came in. I had just talked about Andrew Cuomo before you came in. Now, is you going to get down on bended knee, Eric Adams, and you beg Kathy Hochul to spare your rotten ass? Huh? Is she going to spare you? Huh? Because you did a lot of defending on her because you knew her character, right? When she said at that expo a while back about how young black kids don't know what a computer is, and you put on that cape and you took them slings and arrows, you sat there in front of that camera and behind that microphone, and you said you knew what was in her heart, that you forgive her because you knew her heart. Okay, now let's put that heart to the test. Is she gonna save your ass the same way you saved her? Huh? That's what we want to know, Officer Adams. That's what we want to know, Mushmouth. Yep, so see, them chickens is coming home to roost now. All these people resigning in your inner circle all these people getting their homes kicked down by the feds and all that, getting their personal devices confiscated and shit. Mm-hmm. So I'm just trying to tell y'all what's going on, man. You know what I'm saying? This shit has a whole lot of players associated with this scheme. Whole lot of players. There's a whole lot of players associated in this scheme. He just happened to be at the top. Now, hold on. Because I got to talk about this. September 16th, last week, I talked about 2 fire chiefs, right? But I'm going to get into more specifics about that. Okay? I'm going to talk more about that right now, right? Hold on. Hold on. We going to talk about this. We definitely going to talk about this. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. If hit the like button for me. All right, and then support the channel. Boy, I tell you, boy, that corruption run deep. I tell you, man, that corruption run deep. Let's talk about these 2 ex-fire chiefs. I'm put their ass up on the Summer Jam screen here. We're gonna put these 2 bammers up here on the Summer Jam screen up here in a minute, boy. Let's talk about these. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the things. Hey, baby. All right, these are the 2 fire chiefs that got indicted last week. These 2 individuals right here, part of that corruption scandal that got Officer Eric Adams' butt in the crack. Now, they were arrested last Monday on charges that they solicited tens of thousands of dollars in bribes to guarantee that the department's fire safety division gave preferential treatment to some individuals and companies. Anthony Sacavino, or Sacavino, that's his name, Anthony Sacavino, 59 years old of Manhattan, the guy on the left, and Brian Cordasco, 49 years old, the guy on the right, of Staten Island, were arrested on bribery, corruption, and false statements, charges alleging that they solicited and accepted the bribe payments from at least 2021 to 2023. They were each freed on $250,000 bail after entering not guilty pleas from a federal judge. Outside the courthouse, neither one of them commented. Now, these arrests came as multiple ongoing federal investigations swirl around Eric Adams and his top deputies, including one inquiry that appears at least partly focused on whether the administration sped up fire safety inspections at the Turkish consulate in exchange for illegal contributions. Mm-mm-mm. They're really digging deep to find this shit. They're really digging deep in this corruption. Now, Cordasco and Sacavino were former chiefs of the city's fire department's Bureau of Fire Prevention. which is responsible for regulating the installation of fire safety and suppression systems throughout New York City and ensuring fire safety regulations were obeyed. Outside the courthouse, Attorney Joseph called Calderera called his client Sacavino an American hero, G.I. Joe, more like a G.I. joke. While the indictment makes no reference to projects linked to the Turkish government, it does refer to a city hall list allegedly used by the fire department to track inquiries and requests from city hall stakeholders and give priority to these projects. Adams, a Democrat, had previously denied the existence of the priority list. Yeah, okay. Yeah, if the feds got a copy of that shit, then guess what? It does exist. In a lawsuit filed last year, a former chief said that the list had grown substantially under Adams, becoming a mechanism to press the FDNY, or the Fire Department in New York, to publicly or permit politically connected developers to cut the inspection line. Now, the prosecutor on this case said at a news conference that Cordasco and Sacavino allegedly used the list to excuse or cover up the way in which they were pressuring other folks to expedite the matters they were being bribed to expedite. According to a news release, Sacavino and Cardasco solicited and accepted bribes from a retired firefighter who ran an unsanctioned expediting business that promised customers that he could fast track their plan reviews and inspection dates in exchange for a fee. Williams said that retired firefighter has pleaded guilty to charges in the case. And that tells you right there that that man flipped. He entered a guilty plea and he flipped. Because look, whenever somebody gets their butt in the crack, what's the one thing they start doing? It starts with an S and it ends with a G, right? And it rhymes with ditching. The trio managed to collect over $190,000 in payments in a scheme they launched after the coronavirus pandemic, creating a backlog of work for the fire department's fire safety division. Even as Cordasco allegedly participated in the bribery scheme, he was raising concern internally about the ethics of granting priority to other projects, according to emails obtained by the AP and other outlets. They got emails on your ass? Oh, Lord, you're done. You're done. They got a paper trail on you? Oh, man. Oh, man. Woo! They got the paper trail. You're done, son. You're done. You are done, son. In the statement, they got paperwork on you. Boy, they got paperwork on you. They got a paper trail? Oh, Lord have mercy, boy. I don't know how you get. Wow. In a statement, Fire Commissioner Robert Tucker said the department will fully cooperate with the investigation, adding each of its employees has sworn an oath to honest and ethical behavior and that anything less will not be tolerated. Over the weekend, the top legal advisor of the Officer Adams abruptly resigned. That came days later after the head of the New York Police Department resigned after the federal investigation seized his phone. Boy, I'm telling you, it is getting hot in here, baby. Getting hot in here. You take off all your clothes. Boy, I tell you. Wow. You basically undermine the whole trust of the city for your own greed. Let's just keep this 100. Let's just keep this 100. You guys prioritize your own greed and your own self-serving agenda over the over the safety of the people in that city. Now, what if a fire broke out in one of those buildings? Then what? And then people died in that manner. What if that? Oh Lord, have mercy. Y'all, man, look. Go ahead, enter your guilty plea. Go ahead and flip, because y'all gonna get the snitching too. Just go ahead and get the snitching too. Now, let's talk about the New York City Police Commissioner, Erica Bond, right? Because I'm telling you, this shit right here, we only scratching the surface of the level of corruption that was going on out here. We only scratching the surface. Mm-mm-mm. Now, Erica Bond, he got exposed by an article in the oh, what's that news publication that exposed him? I can't remember the news publication that exposed him. That really pissed me off. I can't remember the name of the news publication that exposed him. In case you don't know who Erica Bond is, this is who Erica Bond looks like. This is the former New York police commissioner, right? So he resigned amidst a federal investigation into the department's nightclub enforcement, according to sources familiar with the matter. He was the first Latino police commissioner, took over the department in July 2023 after being tapped by Eric Adams, whose administration is the target of multiple federal investigations. His phone was seized around the same time the FBI agents raided the homes of top Adams administration officials as part of a separate probe. Those were the homes searched, included First Deputy Mayor Sheena White and Philip Banks III, as I covered earlier in the stream. His twin brother, James Caban, who owns a nightclub security business, also had his phone seized in the corruption investigation, as I already pointed out earlier in the stream also. Mm-mm-mm. So, we need to get to the details of this. Okay, so this is why he got shown the door. And I think he forcibly got shown the door, because had he not, I thought he was going I think there was he was going to get fired. That's what I think. I don't think he willingly resigned just because of these allegations that came out. I think he got forced to show him the door, because this man right here is corrupt. Okay? There are allegations that he stopped a whole lot of police officers from being held accountable for police misconduct, right? I'll get to that in a minute. But Eyewitness News has learned that his brother is accused of trying to leverage the relationship in order to get work providing security to nightclubs. So basically, for all intents and purposes, he was running that shit like a mob boss. So basically, if the nightclub owner didn't pay, then they got their asses beat, allegedly. Boy, I tell you, boy, that whoo. Trying to tell you, man, this shit is crazy, man. I'm telling you. You got bar owners coming out saying that how they were being extorted by the brother of the police commissioner. A Brooklyn juice bar owner is claiming former NYPD Commissioner Eric Caban's brother and the former City Hall nightlife czar shook him down for thousands of dollars, promising to get the police office back if he paid up. Shamel Kelly said soon after he opened the juice bar in Coney Island 2 years ago, NYPD officers were regularly harassing him about noise complaints, even though the court never upheld any violations against him. It started to get more about money that he started to realize, and he think that they were extorting him. He says that a friend put him in contact with Ray Martin, a former community affairs aide to Officer Eric Adams, who had been working in the mayor's entertainment and nightlife unit. Kelly said Martin connected him with James Caban, the brother of former NYPD Commissioner Eric Caban, who resigned after being raided by federal agents as part of a corruption probe. Kelly claims James Caban offered to take care of his problems with the NYPD in exchange for $2,500. Kelly said he never ended up paying the men and claims police continued to exert their presence at the business until he was forced to close earlier this year. So yeah, that's how Eric Caban got his button to crack through his brother. So now federal investigators are seeking communications amongst New York's former police commissioner, his twin brother, and officers that might show payments made in exchange for favors to nightclubs. The investigations focus on cell phone records and communication involving the former commissioner, his brother, dating back to January 1st, 2018, according to the person. Investigators are looking for evidence that will support bribery, fraud, and conspiracy charges. Said the person who's lacking authorization discussed the case publicly and chose to speak on the condition anonymity. No one in the police department has been arrested or charged. The person's account gave a fuller picture of what investigators have been seeking as they fanned out through the city, issuing search warrants and subpoenas to members of Officer Eric Adams' administration, which have been engulfed in at least 4 federal inquiries that already resulted in several resignations. Eric Caban was the first to resign on September 12th at the request of City Hall, which had asked him to step aside after federal agents seized his phone on September 4th. His departure ended a career that spanned more than 30 years at the police department. Said he was leaving because the noise around recent developments had made it impossible for him to lead the agency. Okay, whatever. That's his whole fucking word salad. Fuck you. Right? Mr. Caban was fired, the brother. He was fired after he was detained and threatened a livery cab driver who he had accused of stealing money from his wife's purse. His wife's his lawyers describe him as a consultant who serves as a liaison with the department and works for a private company that they did not name. The work, Mr. Heckler said, is perfectly legal, especially given his previous career as an NYPD officer. Yeah, because his brother used to work for the police department. So yeah, man, I ain't gonna take up too much more of your time, man. Just know this thing is getting real in the battlefield. Oh my Lord. You got a whole lot of people is lawyering up, and pretty soon Not only you got a lot of people lawyering up, and pretty soon they could be out here copping pleas. So we gonna see what happens, man. But I hope everybody have a good night. If you're not a subscriber to this channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and share these videos on your social media platforms. Shouts out to the LDBC. This your man. Scream at me. Ho!